This story is about Juuzou Oogami, a legendary assassin with a perfect kill record. He works for a secret organization known as Zoo. Today, he's been called in for a job that is supposed to be easy. According to his informant, there is only one guard on duty for the night. Taking the mission lightly, Oogami destroys the security camera near the warehouse and then uses an ID card to gain access. He casually walks inside only to find a group of dangerous-looking men lounging around. These criminals are taken aback by Oogami's appearance and want to know how the hell he got in and for what purpose. One guy points a gun at Oogami, yelling at him to reveal his identity. However, Oogami is not scared at all. He's just trying to find a lighter for his cigarette in these trying times. When his pockets come up empty, Oogami has the guts to ask the criminal for a lighter, but his response prompts the assassin to take away the gun and start firing. In just a matter of seconds, the room goes dark and the men try to get away but are hunted down by Oogami. One criminal was smart enough to retrieve an important briefcase beforehand so that he could escape, but he finds Oogami staring at him from the darkness. Unnerved by his presence, the man watches Oogami point his gun towards him, but there are no bullets left. Taking the opportunity to run away, the criminal starts sprinting down the corridor with the briefcase, but Oogami catches up pretty quickly. The man falls to the ground and starts begging for mercy, only to pull out a gun, but Oogami is already 10 steps ahead. The assassin startles the man from behind and then violently punches him in the gut, bringing an end to this mission. With the briefcase in hand, Oogami heads out where he meets Kotatsu Nakota, his informant. Even though Kotatsu is impressed that Oogami took down 25 guys completely alone, the assassin is not pleased that Kotatsu lied to him. There was only supposed to be one guard in the warehouse. Apologizing for his misdirection, Kotatsu excitedly opens up the briefcase only to find a strange glass jar with a wasp nest inside of it. Not seeing any value in this strange item, Oogami and Kotatsu decide to stop for a quick dinner before heading back home. They enjoy warm ramen in a small, cozy spot, but Kotatsu is horrified to see how much garlic Oogami likes putting on his food. As an old man, Oogami no longer needs to worry about smelling disgusting or eating too much junk. As night turns into day, Oogami is only now heading back to his fancy apartment. He picks up his mail and then enters the elevator, but a small child accidentally runs into him. Seeing the terrifying look on the creepy old man makes the kid run out crying. Oogami has never been good with kids, he just doesn't know how to talk to them. This is one of the reasons why Oogami's marriage failed. He always placed his job above everything else, not knowing how to become a family man. Wondering about such things makes Oogami feel a little sad, especially when he sees other happy families. Even though he's an excellent assassin, Oogami still finds his life to be boring. Thankfully, Kotatsu has arrived to distract Oogami from his miserable life. The assassin heads over to his front door to let his eager informant inside, but something entirely unexpected occurs. A strange-looking wasp flies around the room and lands on Oogami's neck. It only takes a second for the little insect to sting the old man. As soon as Oogami feels the pain from the sting, he kills the wasp, but it's too late. His body starts shutting down. Oogami clutches his chest and falls to the ground, as if experiencing a heart attack. The next time Oogami opens his eyes, he is inside a white lab room. His voice sounds different, and there is just something odd about his appearance. Iri Wanabuchi, Oogami's ex-wife and chief of Zoo's science division, is also in the room. She asks Oogami to state his name and designation, and then asks him to identify her as well. Ogami's swift response allows Iri to confirm that he still has his memories. His vitals are stable and everything seems to be just fine, except for one very obvious change. Iri explains that Oogami's peculiar condition was caused by wasp venom. The group of criminals that he took down in the warehouse were also working for a firm that researches genetic manipulation in living organisms. And now, because of a tiny mishap, Oogami looks like an average teenage boy still going through puberty. Seeing his reflection almost gives Oogami a real heart attack. He wants to change back, but there's nothing that can be done. A lot more research will need to be done before Oogami can go back to his usual boomer self. Investigating his new body, Oogami is surprised to see that everything in his body has changed, and there is nothing he can do but take a break from work and just sit around as a teenager. But Oogami has bills to pay and child support to worry about. There is no way he can just forget about his adult responsibilities and live life like this. Iri's hands are tied as well, but she believes that the boss of the organization might have a new mission for Oogami. Just then, the boss himself calls Oogami with an interesting mission in mind. Even though Oogami tells the boss that he can complete his previous missions without any issues, the boss is cooking up something else. He will be enrolling his daughter in a certain private middle school, and wants Oogami to infiltrate the school as a student, hoping to investigate the school and learn anything suspicious about its operations. The boss is relying on Oogami to get the job done. This is not what the seasoned assassin had in mind when he said he wanted to go back to work. Oogami almost refuses, but then the boss says the magic words. He will be paying a lot of money for this simple mission. So the following day, Kotatsu helps out Oogami as he prepares for the first day of school. The old boomer needs to wear special glasses with a camera and earpiece installed so that Kotatsu can keep an eye on Oogami and help him blend in. Even after putting on the uniform and preparing to head towards school, Oogami wonders why he said yes to the job when he hates kids and doesn't like talking to them. But then he remembers the big payment and swallows his pride. The first day of school begins with an assembly, and then students introduce themselves in their respective classes. The kids are ruthless as they judge every kid, and when it's time for Oogami to speak in front of the class, he's a disaster. He says nothing about himself and immediately gets labeled as the gloomy emo kid. Kotatsu tells Oogami to turn back and introduce himself properly. So the old man trapped in a teenage body stands in front of the class again and tries to act normal. He decides to tell the entire class that his favorite hobby is sniping. An absolute silence in the room is followed by the kids wondering if Oogami is some sort of an edge lord who likes guns. Seeing the damage he has done to his reputation, Oogami tries to clear the confusion, but ultimately everyone finds him to be weirdo. The first day of school comes to an end and Oogami gathers his stuff only for an ugly mean girl and her hideous friend to purposefully bump into him. The girls mock Oogami and leave while laughing at him. Kotatsu suggests that he could take out the girls, but Oogami refuses. After experiencing what it feels like to be a middle school student, Oogami heads back to his apartment where Kotatsu has decided to move in and is now cooking dinner. Surprisingly, the young man can actually cook a decent meal, but now that Kotatsu is the older one, he gets to dictate Ogami's every move. He believes that Ogami's introduction was the most stupid thing he has ever witnessed. Kotatsu has totally turned into Ogami's mother, telling him to behave properly in school and focus on his studies from now on so that he doesn't get expelled. The following day, Oogami has to sit through a painful lesson. He doesn't really care about learning because he was taught to be a killer from a very young age. After completing his training, Oogami lived an entire life, got married, and even had a daughter. So he can't pretend to be a kid back in school just starting a new life. However, something in Ogami's mind switches when he sees all the beautiful numbers on the class board. He has a strange feeling and actually starts paying attention in class. Discovering a new world of numbers makes Oogami excited to be in class. By the end of the day, Oogami actually starts crying because he loves learning. He enjoys all of his lessons and gaining new knowledge feels like getting powers from God himself. Oogami spent most of his life just focusing on his deadly job. So now that he can focus on other things, learning feels fun again. Back at home, Kotatsu can't believe that Oogami is actually studying on his own. Not only did he finish all of his homework, but decided to prepare for the next day as well. This surprising change might actually help Oogami gain a new lease on life. The following day, Oogami has another amazing day at school that has filled him with joy. He likes comparing his lessons to his past experiences as an assassin. It feels rewarding to relate the knowledge back to stuff that he already knows about. Ogami's excitement got to him so bad. He is the last student to leave the classroom. Even though learning is fun, hanging out with teenagers is still a fate worse than death. So Oogami hopes to return back to his old body. While pondering over his new life, chaos erupts on the school grounds and the commotion catches Ogami's attention. A masked, perverted panda guy has infiltrated the school and is now beating up the guards. This creepy panda guy runs around like a madman, scaring all the kids. The mean girls who bumped into Oogami decide to film the lunatic, taking light of the situation. But then the panda mask guy runs towards the girls and corners them. Wearing nothing but his underpants, the creep starts to stretch his garments without any care in the world. The rest of the students watch on as the perverted panda terrorizes the girls. Kotatsu tells Oogami not to intervene since the girls were so horrible to him before. However, Oogami is still technically a grown man and leaving the girls in such a state would be petty. So Oogami creates a distraction and grabs a box of chalk being carried by a student. He then actually pulls out a gun and fires at the chalk, creating a smokescreen. Now that the area is covered in smoke, Oogami charges in and punches the panda in the gut. But the weaker kid means that Oogami will need to get creative. The panda pulls out a makeshift bomb, but Oogami kicks him in the family jewels. He then sends the bomb flying into the air as the perverted panda falls to the ground. Oogami uses his gun to blow up the explosive in mid-air, while also threatening to kill the panda if he does something like this again. The smoke clears and the scared mean girls see Oogami standing like some sort of a hero. They believe that Oogami saved them, but in order to keep his identity intact, Oogami pretends to be a loser who was just passing by. He tells the girls that a stranger came in and took care of the perverted panda. Oogami convinces the girls that he's just a normal middle school student, but his response only makes them more suspicious. The incident comes to a close, with the panda getting arrested and the hero who saved the day becoming a mystery. Back in school, Oogami remains detached from his classmates. All of them are gathered around trying to make a class group chat. Some students believe that Oogami shouldn't be included since he is a freak. However, the mean girls push back and actually ask Oogami if he wants to be part of the group chat. Oogami doesn't care about the group chat, but he still agrees. But then he is met with the horror of endless group chat messages and comes to realize that his old mind can't keep up with all these young kids. Oogami is still trying to pass off as a student, but according to Kotatsu, the most surprising thing about his transformation is the obsession with studying. Kotatsu doesn't understand why Oogami would learn just for fun, but it doesn't matter as long as Oogami is behaving. Unfortunately, his social skills are still in the gutter because he doesn't know how to react when the mean girls Takada and Baba greet him. Oogami can only give the girls a creepy smile, which just makes them feel uncomfortable. Takada then tells Oogami that he should participate more in the group chat, but that's the last thing he wants to do. Oogami finally enters the classroom and moves towards his seat, but this time his attention is caught by a mysterious girl sitting in the back of the class. The girl's name is Norin Mitsuoka, and she is the cool girl that everyone admires. She's great at sports and all the other girls are extremely impressed by Norin, while the boys make creepy faces, leering at Norin and making her feel uncomfortable. In class, Norin amazes everyone with her great English skills. Everyone is captivated to hear her speak fluently and clearly, including Oogami. Oogami knew that there was something different about the girl, and his instincts were right. Eri provided further information, telling Oogami to try to make contact with Norin because she is the daughter of the president of a big pharma company, and she might be able to provide some useful information. Oogami doesn't want to get involved in anything weird, so the next day he continues to be the loner kid. Kotatsu tells the assassin that he should try to blend in, but Oogami is set in his ways. There is a huge age gap between him and everyone else in the class, despite enjoying the schoolwork. The assassin wants to go back to his old body so that he can stop pretending to be a weird teenager. However, this school infiltration is still technically a mission, so Oogami decides to speak to Norin, not expecting too much. Unfortunately, Ogami's expectations are completely destroyed because as soon as he utters a single word, Norin gives him the most annoyed look ever. She tells the class weirdo to leave her alone and disappear forever. Her harsh words force Oogami to retreat back to his seat feeling hopeless. This is the first time that the cruel words of a teenager have affected Oogami to such a great extent. Hearing a girl calling him creepy, especially since he is an old man, felt like a punch to the gut, and Oogami ends up falling apart in the middle of the hallway. Takada and Baba bump into Oogami in his sorry state. The girls explain that Norin really hates guys. She is good at sports and her studies. She also comes from a rich family and looks like a model. So naturally all types of creepy guys are always asking her out, which has made Norin turn into a cold, isolated person. Even the girls refuse to talk to Norin because of her intimidating aura. Going back home from school, Oogami speaks to Kotatsu through the earpiece. He feels like Norin is a complete dead end. A girl like that is never going to talk openly to a guy, especially one who is technically a 40-year-old man. So Oogami decides to let go of the matter and instead check out a new ramen shop. He enters the small restaurant and hears a joyful waitress telling him to come in. But there is one problem. This bright, cheerful waitress is actually Norin. Oogami stares at the girl, and Norin stares at her classfellow that she rudely scared away just a few hours ago. They say nothing to each other and Oogami simply sits down. Norin takes his order and then starts looking after the other customers. After taking a sip of water, Oogami finally starts to process what just happened. He starts to question why a rich girl like her is working in a ramen shop. Middle schoolers are not even allowed to have part-time jobs, so how is Norin working here? Ogami's mind spirals with questions, but then his ramen arrives and he is blown away from the first bite. The noodles, the toppings, and the broth are complete perfection for Oogami. He wants to continue savoring the food, but then Norin arrives with her dark aura and tells Oogami to meet her at the back of the shop. As night falls, Norin confronts Oogami about his presence at the ramen shop. She made sure to pick a spot that was away from the school and unlikely to be visited by any familiar faces. But Oogami actually lives in the area and wanted to try out a new ramen shop. Norin begs Oogami to not tell anyone that she works part-time like this. Her change in attitude is oddly concerning, but Oogami decides to keep her secret. Later, Norin and Oogami walk together as the girl explains that the ramen shop is owned by her uncle, and she only helps out without getting paid. Oogami finds this strange considering that Norin is supposed to be super rich. The truth is that Norin does come from a rich, influential family. Her mother is Canadian, so naturally Norin herself has distinct features. However, from a young age, Norin's family has been trying to find her a suitable husband. She has dealt with creepy men of all ages calling her beautiful, which seriously disgusts her. Now Norin deals with the same situation in school as well, which has made her dislike men in general. This is why Norin is determined to have her own ramen shop one day. She wants to fight her family's old-fashioned mindset and live on her own strength. Norin explains that her uncle started the ramen shop because he also wanted to get away from the stuffy rich people. Norin would often visit her uncle's ramen shop when she felt depressed. Without saying a word, her uncle would give her a bowl of ramen and things would immediately feel better. In fact, Oogami himself gives old uncle vibes, which is the reason why Norin feels comfortable talking to him so much. Oogami doesn't say anything because he knows that he is in fact an old man. Oogami can see that Norin is just a girl trying to fight her destiny, and after some time they part ways. However, Norin makes it clear that this interaction doesn't mean that she will start acting all friendly with Oogami at school. Getting the message loud and clear, Oogami heads home. The two go their separate ways, but then Oogami turns around after hearing Norin struggling. She has been kidnapped and forced into a strange black van. This is not surprising considering that the daughter of a powerful man would be a valuable target. Kotatsu, who also witnessed the entire scene, quickly tracks down the number plate, but it turns out to be false. At this point, finding the van seems like a lost cause. Kotatsu believes that there is no way to track down the car or its direction, but Oogami is not willing to give up. He springs into action and climbs a nearby signal tower to get a better view. Using his insane strength and speed, Oogami reaches the top in no time. He finds the car rushing through the streets, but then coming to a stop at a signal. Taking advantage of the situation, Oogami fires a transmitter from his gun. He guesses where to shoot and ends up hitting the back of the car perfectly. Following his instincts as an assassin, the transmitter activates and Oogami receives a signal on his phone. Unwilling to let go of the amazing ramen he had, Oogami starts tracking down the signal. Meanwhile, Norin is taken to a creepy building where a group of men gather around her. They make creepy remarks and one guy even gets a little close. But then he is kicked in the guts by a mysterious man in a black suit. This guy apologizes to Norin and very politely asks her to reveal the top secret new drug that her father's company is developing. Taken aback by this strange question, Norin tries to convince the man that she knows nothing about this secret drug. Even though the girl is telling the truth, the man in the black suit is not convinced. He reveals that he visited the ramen shop owned by Norin's uncle. According to him, the place was filthy, and the food was disgusting. Norin's heart is filled with rage and sadness as the guy threatens to tear apart the ramen shop if the girl doesn't come clean about the secret drug. Thinking of her uncle, Norin begs the man that he has nothing to do with any of this. Norin really doesn't know anything, and she has no idea how to respond. The wrong answer could cause her uncle to lose the ramen shop. But thankfully, Norin doesn't need to say anything at all because Oogami jumps through the window and shoots the guy. The seasoned assassin can't believe that this random guy would talk badly about the best ramen he has ever had. Before Norin can see Ogami's face, he covers her head with his school bag. The men in the room start getting annoyed at this intrusion, especially when the intruder is a teenage boy. Oogami remains nonchalant and decides to school the men by giving them some stellar advice. First, he tells them not to talk badly about food that someone else has made. And before Oogami can reveal his second advice, the men pull out their guns. Oogami quickly pulls out his own gun and shoots the men, although he is only using rubber bullets. The commotion attracts more men to the room, and Norin is still wondering what the hell is going on. So Oogami puts the girl on a trolley and tells her to hold on tight as he gets them out of the building. The first guy enters the room and Oogami uses the trolley to jump over him. He then kicks the man from behind and continues making his way out. More men are waiting in the hallway with guns ready to fire, so Oogami uses the trolley to dodge the bullets. At this point, Norin is being tossed around like a rag doll, and she is starting to feel really sick, but Oogami does not intend on slowing down. He throws the trolleys down the stairs where 2 more men are waiting. The trolley crashes into them as Oogami also hits them with the rubber bullets. There's only a few more criminals left in the building and Oogami takes them all out one by one. Finally, he manages to get Norin out safely and without compromising his identity. However, the man in the black suit arrives on the scene, determined to crush Oogami and Norin with his car. Oogami fires his gun, but the car turns out to have bulletproof windows, so now the assassin will need to get creative. He removes Norin from the trolley and slams it into the car. At the same time, he throws a piece of construction gear as well, causing the car to tilt over. Oogami watches as the car flips over, and he decides to continue with his second advice. He believes that men who treat women like shit are trash. With the danger taken care of, Oogami uses a device to make Norin quickly fall asleep. Now he can safely take her back home, but there is still one problem. Oogami forgot his social studies book in the building. Oogami has been doing pretty well at school for now, but then he completely loses his momentum after failing to understand anything in maths. As soon as equations start getting more complicated, Oogami has a hard time keeping up with everything. Back at home, Oogami tells Kotatsu about his recent struggle. As someone also bad at math, Kotatsu is not much help. However, he believes that Eri might be able to teach Oogami the stuff he doesn't understand. So Oogami bites his own tongue and asks his ex-wife to help him out with middle school math problems. Eri is a working adult with a child, so she doesn't have time to help out Oogami, but she thinks that the assassin should probably just swallow his pride and ask the teacher at school. This is unacceptable for Oogami because the teacher is younger than him technically, and he feels weird about doing that. So with all options exhausted, Oogami just falls behind his lessons. He goes to the library to study, but the classes are just getting harder, and he feels helpless. On the verge of losing his status as a smart geek, Oogami crashes out in the library, but then his classmate Ryo Shiraishi approaches him. Ryo has been noticing Oogami struggling in the library. After learning more about the situation, Ryo believes that Ogami's basic understanding of math is severely lacking. Oogami realizes this might actually be true because as a kid he never paid any attention to his lesson. Now Ryo wants to help out Oogami, and the two of them start studying together. Oogami studies in the library with Ryo, and then goes back home where he continues the lessons throughout the night. The hard work finally leads to a math quiz and Oogami manages to get a perfect score. Shocked and elated by his amazing quiz result, Oogami shows his gratitude to Ryo. He can't believe that Ryo's hard work and dedication actually helped Oogami succeed. Even though Ryo believes that Oogami passed through his own efforts, he is a bit concerned to see just how emotional Oogami has become because of the math quiz. Determined to give Ryo a big treat for the passing grade, Oogami takes his new friend to a nearby diner. Ryo and Oogami look around the restaurant to find a suitable place to sit when some guy carrying around a laptop bumps into Ryo. Instead of apologizing, the guy starts yelling at the kids for not watching their step. He gets annoyed because now coffee has spilled on his laptop. Ryo apologizes, but Oogami completely ignores the guy and decides to find a seat. Seeing Ryo work so hard these past couple of days has made Oogami realize that his new friend is working hard for something as well. Ryo reveals that he actually really wants to be a doctor. His mother passed away a few years ago from an illness and his grandmother would watch over him and his sister. But now Ryo has noticed that his grandmother is starting to get weak as well. Ryo wants to do whatever it takes to help out his grandmother and other people, so that no one has to die from an illness. Yet again Oogami is moved and inspired by Ryo, and he can't help but start crying again. Oogami is starting to realize that kids are not that bad as long as he views them as individual people and not just a nuisance. Just then, the weird guy with a laptop comes back and starts saying a bunch of nonsense. He tells Ryo that he shouldn't be a doctor because it's a waste of money and time. And then the guy has the audacity to mock Oogami for being too stupid to not understand middle school math. Ryo doesn't say a word to the weirdo, but as soon as he starts bad-mouthing Oogami, he gets up and confronts the bully. Ryo tells the stupid guy that he has no right to make fun of people or mock their achievements. This random guy has no idea how hard Oogami worked, and Ryo tells him to just mind his own business. Soon the other people in the restaurant tell the weird guy to shut up as well because he is being loud and annoying. Scared by everyone calling him out for his rude behavior, the guy quickly leaves the diner. Later on, Ryo apologizes to Oogami for losing his temper back then, but Oogami doesn't mind at all. While the two friends walk back together, Oogami notices that the guy from the diner is back. This time he is on a bicycle and probably intends on pushing the two kids into the river. Prepared for the inevitable confrontation, Oogami casually pulls out a compass and swings it towards the guy's bicycle. The compass gets caught in the wheel, causing the bicycle and the weirdo to fly into the air. Oogami then tells the weirdo that he needs to cool off, and he watches the buffoon land right into the water with his stupid laptop. Ryo doesn't even notice anything and Oogami forgets about the entire ordeal. Back at home, Oogami has a dream about his own child. He remembers the scared look on his daughter's face and then the phone ringing. Back in reality, and he wakes up in his filthy room. Oogami then heads to school where a club fair is going on. He has no idea which club to pick, but he is sure that the sports club will not be an option. Kotatsu asks Oogami through the earpiece why he isn't considering any sports club. Just then, a baseball falls in front of Oogami, and instead of just giving it back like a normal person, he turns it into a missile and almost kills the player. This is precisely why Oogami doesn't want to do sports. He will stand out too much and his cover might be blown. In class, Ryo tells Oogami that he is thinking of joining the kendo club since he always wanted to give it a try and the activity would be perfect to handle along with his studies. Oogami himself has no idea what to pick and then notices the home economics club. He hates the idea of joining this club because it's mostly just cooking and cleaning, which is not very manly according to Oogami. But then Ryo's sister Chisato weighs in on the matter as well because she is the president of the home economics club. According to Chisato, learning how to cook or clean is something that both men and women need to learn how to do. Otherwise, it would be embarrassing if someone doesn't know how to live like a basic human being. Chisato can see that Oogami doesn't look like he understands the importance of these skills, so she forces him to join the club's trial session. In this session, all the students will learn how to make a simple miso soup and rice balls. Oogami is surprised to see the number of guys attending the session as well. Chisato then decides to make things more interesting by challenging Oogami. If she loses, then Chisato will spend 6 months looking after Ogami's every need. But if Oogami loses, then he has to join the home economics club. The session begins and Oogami learns to do things that he has never tried before. He is out of his comfort zone, but actually manages to make a decent miso soup and rice ball. Once the session comes to an end, Chisato asks Oogami if he enjoyed cooking, but the assassin just feels indifferent. So he decides to call the challenge a draw. However, Chisato has another plan in mind, and she wants Oogami to try something before making his final decision. Later on, as Oogami walks back home with his leftover food, Kotatsu tells him that he is a hypocrite. He actually liked his miso soup, but then told Chisato he felt nothing. Oogami explains that he enjoyed the food for a second, but then he just felt bored. He asks Kotatsu if he wants to eat the leftovers, but instead, Kotatsu tells him to give the leftover food to Eri. As night falls, Oogami receives a call from Eria. She wants to thank him for dropping over the food that he cooked. Eri is actually surprised that Oogami tried joining home economics, but she enjoyed his cooking. Oogami then talks to his daughter Kazue, and she also enjoyed the meal, although the soup was a little salty. Hearing this makes Oogami recall what Chisato actually said to him. Before he left the session, Chisato told Oogami that cooking is more fun when you are doing it for someone else. And he is bound to enjoy cooking more once he starts doing it for others. Realizing that Chisato is right makes Oogami depressed because now he will actually have to join the home economics club. The following day, Oogami officially joins the club, even though he doesn't want to. Then he sees Norin brutally rejecting another guy and also joining the home economics club. Surprised to see that a girl like Norin would be interested in cooking and cleaning, Oogami slightly mocks her. But Norin actually wants to learn more skills so that she can help around the ramen shop. Norin explains her decision and then tells Oogami to stop talking to her in front of others. As Oogami leaves, Kotatsu receives the most bizarre message from Eri. She has found out how Oogami can go back to his old body, but the method doesn't make sense. Oogami asks Kotatsu to get to the point, and he finds out that in order to become an old man again, he will need to marry Norin. On the verge of a heart attack after hearing this, Oogami tells Kotatsu to explain what the hell is going on. Kotatsu tells Oogami that the Mitsuoka pharmaceutical company has put out an insane announcement. Anyone who marries Norin, the president's daughter, will become an heir to the company and learn all of its secrets. Kotatsu tells Oogami that for a while now rumors have been going on that Norin knows something. So now Ogami's mission is to find a way to become Norin's fiancé. Oogami crashes out because he's technically a divorced man pushing 40. He can't just ask Norin to marry him as a middle schooler. Oogami then hears other guys also talking about marrying Norin, and the entire situation starts to feel hopeless. After school, Oogami heads to the ramen shop where Norin works. He's not interested in asking for her hand. He just wants to enjoy a nice bowl of ramen after a tiring day at school. Once Oogami finishes his bowl, pays Norin and then leaves. However, Norin is also getting off from work, and they decide to walk home together. Once Norin is alone with Oogami, she can finally be true to herself. She can't believe that her father would do something so disgusting. She hates him and the world. But Oogami is not that bothered by Norin's tantrum, and he just starts changing the subject. Having a casual talk like this makes Norin feel alive, and she wishes to have more moments like this with her friends. The following day, Oogami heads to the home economics room to start learning more about cooking and cleaning. But there is a line of boys outside, trying to sign up for the club as well. They have all gathered after hearing about Norin's marriage fiasco. Norin is surrounded by a group of boys. She is feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, but then she sees Oogami standing around and does the unthinkable. Norin declares Oogami her boyfriend in front of the entire school. After declaring Oogami as her boyfriend, Norin has to deal with an entire horde of angry boys running after her and her new boyfriend. Oogami and Norin barely make it out alive as they hide from the gang of schoolboys. Norin apologizes to Oogami for shoving her problems down his throat. She was really looking forward to the club activities, but then her group of secret admirers ruined everything. Norin did not know what to do, but seeing Oogami in the crowd made her react in such an irrational manner. Norin begs Oogami to continue pretending to be her boyfriend so that the guys at school will back off. Not thrilled with the prospect of courting a teenage girl, Oogami reluctantly agrees to the arrangement. Later on, a group of boys corner Oogami and start beating him up for dating Norin. One guy in particular wants Oogami to back off. Otherwise, he will be forced to do dirty work for the boys throughout the school year. It doesn't take Oogami a lot of effort to break himself free from the clutches of the disruptive student. Usually, it would be easy for him to beat down these losers and leave them in a dump. However, Oogami does not want to get expelled for dealing with these vermin, so he just jumps from the roof. The other students are shocked to see Oogami casually landing on the ground, and they watch him silently walk away. Back in class, everyone around Oogami is talking about his recent relationship with Norin and how several boys have now started to bully him. Oogami is getting a headache from all this gossip. He promised to pretend to be Norin's boyfriend, but this position is starting to have some real consequences. As if things weren't bad enough, Takada and Baba approach Oogami as well, asking him about Norin. The two girls saw Oogami getting bullied by the other boys, but they didn't do anything, especially since Oogami had the situation under control. But Takada warns Oogami that things are only about to get worse for him. Intrigued by this new information, Oogami shockingly hears Takada as she explains that this is a pretty fancy, high-tech school, which means that some really powerful people are students here. This group of powerful students call themselves the Unicorns, and every single one of them is interested in becoming Norin's fiancé. So Oogami will potentially need to fight off several high-level people in order to keep his position as Norin's boyfriend. Back at home, Kotatsu tells Oogami that he should just quit being Norin's boyfriend since he won't actually marry her, even though Kotatsu feels bad for Norin. The girl is just too much trouble. Plus, Kotatsu also has some extra bad news for Oogami. Apparently, the Mitsuoka pharmaceutical research into de-aging drugs and mutated wasps is now also something that people in the underworld are after. So this means that several young assassins and undercover agents will also be sent to the middle school so that they can try to fight for Norin's hand in marriage. So now, on top of all the bullies and the unicorns, Oogami will also have to deal with assassin agents just like himself. Hearing all of this is really making Oogami regret helping out Norin, and he starts to get annoyed. The following day, Norin herself asks Oogami that he can stop pretending to be her boyfriend. She heard that Oogami was getting bullied by the other boys, and there is probably more trouble on the way. So Norin does not want Oogami to suffer just because of her. Norin then tells Oogami that she will just stop going to the home economics club to the guys at bay. But she still wants Oogami to visit the ramen shop so that they can have some normal conversations after school. As Norin leaves, Oogami just stands there scratching his head, and then the guy who bullied him the day before arrives as well. He starts harassing Oogami and tells him to stop running away. especially since he is too much of a gloomy loser to be a boyfriend. Norin herself then has to defend Oogami, and she tells the guy to back off since they are no longer dating. Hearing this makes the stupid student really excited, and he starts forcing himself on Norin. He begs Norin to date him because he is strong and a good protector, but Norin tells the guy to back off. This entire exchange is too frustrating for Oogami, so he steps up and tells the guy to go away because he is still dating Norin. This entire time Oogami is annoyed that all these teenagers are so shallow and unsure of themselves. As someone who is older, Oogami just does whatever he wants, and he won't hesitate to fight off every last guy who annoys him. The brash student starts to get angry as well, and he tries punching Oogami, but his weak attack is casually blocked by Oogami with a single hand. Oogami squeezes the guy's hand with great force and tells him to get stronger instead of pretending to care about someone like Norin. Just like that, the guy backs off and Oogami and Norin are left alone once more. Oogami tells Norin that he doesn't mind pretending to be her boyfriend. Plus, she doesn't want to hear her whining every time he visits the ramen shop. Norin is shocked, but also grateful because of Ogami's help. However, neither of them know that another assassin has been secretly watching them this entire time. This guy can tell that Oogami is probably another assassin just like him. He proceeds to suck on a pacifier as he ponders over this unexpected challenge. Shin Kohazame is also a skilled assassin who can kill his opponent with his bare fists. His organization believes that Shin is a once-in-a-generation type of assassin, and he has been tasked with becoming Norin's fiancé. His codename is Babyface Baby because he likes to act as a baby in order to gain confidence. The following day, as Oogami walks towards his class, Norin stops him because she now thinks that Oogami is secretly very strong, afraid that his cover might get blown. Oogami tries to convince Norin that he isn't really strong and the guy from the previous day was just all talk. However, Norin is not convinced, but she still lets go of the matter for now. Norin actually has something important for Oogami. Her father randomly sent her a fancy fountain pen, which is meant to be given to the guy she is currently dating. Oogami takes the pretty fountain pen without thinking much about it. Later on, the entire school is buzzing with the arrival of Shin. All of the girls think he is super hot and good looking. Shin is introduced as a transfer student in the same class as Oogami. From his aura alone, Oogami can tell that Shin is one of the first assassins sent to win over Norin's hand in marriage. The entire class thinks Shin is very cool, but as soon as he opens his mouth, everyone is left confused. Shin turns out to be a complete buffoon. He doesn't know how to talk or stand properly, and his self-introduction is a complete joy. Shin quietly sits next to Norin, and even that is a challenge for him. Shin was not expecting to find Norin so attractive. There is no way that he can talk to such a cute girl. So Shin just crashes out. Norin stares at Shin as he puts his head on his desk. Then she watches him pass a note to her. Norin opens the note, and it turns out to be a lazy confession and a request to meet up later in the school courtyard. Norin is not impressed at all, and she finds Shin to be very strange. Despite his awkwardness, all the other girls in class surround Shin, making him feel even more nervous. But Oogami finds the whole thing very amusing. Later on, Norin asks Oogami to accompany her when she meets up with Shin, but the strange assassin himself arrives on the scene. Norin hears Shin talking, but his voice seems a lot more confident. When she turns around to face her creepy admirer, Norin is shocked to see that Shin is sucking on a pacifier. Shin explains that he has really intense social issues and the only way for him to act normal is by pretending to be a baby. Weirded out by this strange behavior, both Norin and Oogami are left speechless. Norin then tells Shin that she already has a boyfriend and she doesn't plan on dating Shin anytime soon. But then the undercover assassin takes her hands and confesses his feelings. Shin tells Norin that it was love at first sight and he truly wants to be with her. Norin is creeped out by Shin's confession. Even though he does have beautiful features, the pacifier in his mouth is just too hard to ignore. But then Norin goes the extra mile and punches Shin. Norin feels insulted because Shin's confession doesn't even feel real. It feels like a joke or a dare that someone asked him to do. Norin makes it clear to Shin that his confession was worthless and she would never even entertain the idea of dating him. But then Shin ends up falling even more in love because he thinks that Norin is very strong. He imagines Norin caressing his head like a little baby and the thought makes him really happy. Shin gets right back up and admits that Norin is right. He also makes it clear that he really does love Norin, but this is not the way to go about it. All of a sudden Oogami finds himself nearly dodging a kick by Shin. Before he can recover, the creepy assassin teleports behind him. Shin tells Oogami that he knew his confession wouldn't work. At first he wanted to make an impression and ease into it, but now he has decided to directly challenge Oogami to a duel. Shin reveals that Norin's father has decided that all of Norin's potential fiancées will have to accept a duel, and whoever ends up with the fountain pen will be declared the winner. If Oogami loses the duel, then he will lose his position as Norin's boyfriend. Shin demands Oogami to give up Norin if he doesn't want to fight, but Oogami is ready to go all in and fight for Norin. Later on, Norin crashes out as Takada reveals further information about this duel. She can't believe that her father would create a spectacle out of her like this. Norin then reveals to Takada, Baba and Ryo that Oogami is only pretending to be her boyfriend to save her from creepy dudes. Ryo is now worried, but Oogami assures him that he doesn't intend on losing. The next day, the entire school is excited to see the duel between Oogami and Shin. The stage is set and Shin is the one who sets down the rules. He intends on forcing a pacifier inside Ogami's mouth within an hour. If he manages to do that, then Shin will be declared the winner. Hearing these weird terms only makes Oogami and Norin even more disgusted. Shin then confesses his love to Norin one more time and promises to use her lap as a pillow once he wins the duel. Norin can't take the grown baby seriously and hopes he loses. As soon as the time starts, Shin tries his best to force a pacifier inside Ogami's mouth. His speed is insane and Oogami runs inside of the school to get away from the baby maniac. The students inside the school are amazed that Oogami can dodge all of Shin's attacks. The two fight their way to an art class and then continue the battle in a storage room. During the duel, Shin tells Oogami that he is the only baby in this fight, but once Oogami has the pacifier, then he will be a baby as well and Shin will become the superior baby. Oogami is tired of hearing Shin's mind-numbing monologue while also dodging his fast attacks. And then Shin asks Oogami about his feelings for Norin. This question takes Oogami by surprise because he doesn't actually like Norin. However, Norin reminds him of his own daughter, and he wants to protect Norin the way he would protect Kazue. The timer is slowly running out, and all the students watch on as Shin and Oogami come out of the school. Shin then reveals that he has several more pacifiers hiding around. Oogami dodges all of them, but then he gets tied up with a rope. Oogami then looks down and realizes that he just stepped on a rake, and the insane Shin has a pacifier attached on the rake as well. At this point, Oogami could very well lose, but the rake doesn't slam him in the face because Oogami also had his own backup plan. During the fight, he used wood carving knives to stop the rake and the pacifiers. The timer runs out and Oogami is declared the winner. Shin falls down out of shame as Oogami tells him that he has his own reasons for protecting Norin. He wants to see Norin happy just like he wants to see Kazue happy. Midterm season has finally arrived for Oogami and the other students. All club activities have been suspended and the students are starting to lament the horrors that lie ahead. After school, Oogami and his friends walk out of school together. Takada is really nervous about the upcoming exams because this is their first major test in middle school. Ryo turns back to make sure Oogami is also not freaking out, but he is worse. His aura has turned into an intense, red energy, and he looks terrifying. Ryo and the others are surprised by Ogami's demeanor. He's not really scared, but completely locked in to ace the test no matter what. Ogami's energy is definitely very noticeable, so Kotatsu tells him through the earpiece to calm down before he blows his cover. Ogami realizes his mistake and turns to Ryo for guidance. He wants to know how to study for the upcoming exams, but this is Ryo's first middle school exam as well. Ryo tells Ogami not to worry because he has already been studying quite hard. Hearing this makes Ogami feel grateful for having an amazing mentor like Ryo. The following day, Takada and Baba are blown away by the change in Norin's behavior. She appears to be radiating light because of her cheerfulness. This is the complete opposite of Norin's usual cold and distant attitude. Norin explains that since exam season is going on, none of the boys have the time to constantly harass her. For the first time in a long while, Norin can walk the hallways without worrying about creepy dudes asking her out. She is so happy by this change. She wants the exam season to go on forever. However, Takada and the others run into Oogami, and he is the exact opposite of Norin, his supposed girlfriend. Oogami looks like a dried piece of raisin. He has insane eye bags and his skin is completely dry. Apparently, this is the result of Oogami taking the exam season very seriously. Takada and Baba are shocked to see the difference between Oogami and Norin. Later on, while Oogami is studying in the library, Ryo also expresses his shock towards his horrifying appearance. Oogami explains that he has been studying day and night, He is so absorbed in his work that he doesn't even notice when the sun starts to rise. Oogami tells Ryo that he just can't stop himself from overstudying. He feels like an athlete who knows that resting before a big match is important, but the athlete still ends up overtraining. Ryo understands that Oogami is trying way too hard for the exam, but there is no way for him to stop himself. Shin overhears the conversation as well and offers Oogami a pacifier in the hopes of making him feel better. But Oogami just ends up feeling even more stressed. Back at home, Kotatsu notices that Oogami is really overdoing it. His energy has shifted, and he is solely focused on studying. However, Oogami does not care about Kotatsu's concern and tells him to mind his own business. Frustrated by his dismissal, Kotatsu tells Oogami that he has other plans for the night and won't be able to make dinner. So Oogami needs to go eat dinner at Mama's place. Oogami does not like the sound of that, but Kotatsu believes it will be a nice change of pace. Later on in the night, Norin is working hard at the ramen store. But her uncle tells her to leave early since no more customers will be coming through. Norin takes the offer and says farewell to her uncle before heading out. However, as she leaves the ramen shop, she notices Oogami walking alone in the night. Curious to see where Oogami is headed at such a late hour, Norin decides to follow him. She is surprised to see Oogami turn into a shady area with all sorts of weird people. As Norin continues to stalk Oogami, she watches him speak to a man called Gakoda who is dressed like a woman. Gakoda is standing in front of a weird-looking establishment, and he seems to know Oogami quite well. After exchanging some pleasantries, Oogami asks Gakoda if Mama Nagisa is still inside. Gakoda is more than pleased to guide Oogami into the establishment, letting him know that the place is still open and Mama is right inside. As Oogami heads in, Norin's mind is swirling with all manner of questions. She has no idea why Oogami would visit such a weird place. Meanwhile, inside the shady bar, Oogami enjoys a nice dinner made just for him by Mama Nagisa, another cross-dressing man. Mama is very fond of Oogami, and she actually knows about his transformation into a young kid. Oogami has been coming to this place since his days as an adult assassin. He can always rely on Mama, especially when things start to go sideways in life. While Mama and Oogami catch up, a familiar face walks into the bar. Oogami is surprised to see Eri visiting Mama as well. She is also a long-time customer, and Mama already knows what Eri would like to eat for dinner. Oogami ends up telling Eri about his middle school exam, and she can't help but laugh at him. She didn't realize that the heavy eye bags under Ogami's eyes were due to the midterm exam season. Oogami is annoyed at Eri's dismissal of his troubles, but he is more irritated that she seems to be drinking while Kazue is home alone. Eri tells Oogami there is nothing to worry about because Kazue is a good girl who understands that her mother needs a break as well. Eri then notices that Oogami is quite tense, so she tells him to take the test easy, and even if he ends up failing it. Oogami finds Eri's words to be quite brutal, but she is speaking from experience. Even when Oogami was an assassin, he took his missions very seriously. He never allowed himself to fail or make a single mistake, but Eri believes that Oogami should change his mindset now that he is a middle schooler. She wants him to make mistakes and take advantage of the fact that he can make mistakes without any big consequences. Plus, Eri can see that Oogami has become a lot more lively ever since he turned into a middle schooler. Oogami doesn't say a word, and then the night comes to an end. Mama tells Oogami to walk Eri to the station. Meanwhile, Norin has been keeping an eye on the shady bar, and she is shocked to see Oogami come out of the place with a beautiful, older woman. She is starting to freak out about Ogami's identity. The following day, Oogami sits for his midterm exam, and he scores pretty decent marks. Everyone has a different reaction to their exam scores. Some students are pleased, while others are ready to jump into an early grave. Norin quietly observes Oogami, and she is starting to sense that he might be way older than the other students. She recalls Oogami always acting like an old guy, and he sometimes feels like someone's uncle or dad. Ogami's real identity is being ripped apart because of Norin's suspicions, but he doesn't know that yet. With the exam season finally over, club activities have resumed. Chisato has been teaching everyone in the home economics club how to sew on a button. She makes the process feel quite easy, but Oogami and Shin are left confused by the entire process. Chisato explains that knowing how to repair your own clothes makes you feel more attached to your clothes. Oogami can understand that sentiment because he feels the same way about cars and motorcycles. Following Chisato's instructions, Oogami tries to repair a button as well, but he is completely hopeless and Shin even worse. However, the two guys are not alone because Norin is terrible at sewing as well. Later on, all of the students end up helping Norin, Oogami and Shin, and they finally learn how to sew on a button by the end of the day. The school day comes to a close, and as Norin and Oogami walk home together, they find their clubmate Kido watering some plants. He has planted sunflowers in the school's garden and expects them to bloom sometime before summer. Delighted by the prospect of seeing sunflowers, Norin happily walks alongside Oogami, who finds her attitude quite strange. Norin explains that she loves the home economics club because everyone has their own interests. Some students like planting flowers, while others are into cooking or baking. The club is a space where everyone can come together to learn. The following day, Juuzou announces that the Home Economics Club will be making rice balls for the basketball team, but there seems to be an issue. Norin asks what's wrong, and one student explains that today they will be delivering rice balls to a senior league team, and a member of Unicorn is on that team as well. Juuzou knows that some guys in the Unicorn group are after Norin, and that might make things awkward. This is why Juuzou tells Norin she doesn't need to make the delivery if she feels too uncomfortable. However, Norin decides to stick with the home economics clubs. Once the rice balls are done, Juuzou and the others arrive on the field to make the delivery. The players are excited to finally eat something, and then Oogami notices the guy from the Unicorn group. His name is Tenma Tendo, and just from the looks of it, he is definitely dangerous. Tenma is absolutely huge. He towers over everyone in the group. He takes one of the rice balls, scaring one of the girls because of his massive size. Tenma then notices Norin and Oogami and immediately turns towards the two of them. Without wasting a breath, Tenma challenges Oogami to a duel. He knows that winning the duel will make Norin his girlfriend. Taken aback by his directness, Norin tells Tenma that she shouldn't just spring things like that on a person. But Tenma makes it clear that he isn't interested in Norin at all. He is challenging Oogami because he feels like no one is paying him any attention. Tenma wants to be a star athlete. He believes that all eyes should be turned on him because he wants to be a triple threat sportsman. This basically means that Tenma wishes to be gifted in baseball, soccer, and basketball. Everyone else is stunned to hear Tenma boast about himself, but Oogami remains nonchalant. He believes that Tenma just wants him out of the way, but things are much worse. Tenma views Oogami as a background character, and he believes that the Home Economics Club is just a little pretend activity that holds no meaning. There is no way Tenma wants someone like that to be above him. Hearing Tenma diss the Home Economics Club makes the other players feel uncomfortable. However, Oogami is the one who is even more furious about Tenma's stupid remarks. Oogami is now pissed off because Tenma casually looked down on the girls. He doesn't care about the spotlight, but he can't stand a loser like Tenma making fun of the Home Economics Club. Oogami accepts the duel, which makes Tenma more than pleased. He decides to set up a futsal match in the school gym. Tenma even allows Oogami to bring as many people as he wants, but the proud assassin doesn't want some handicap for the match. With the rules and the date set, Tenma leaves. The coach of the baseball team apologizes to Juuzou for Tenma's horrible behavior. The other players also warn everyone that Tenma is a great opponent, and he might turn into a villain when it comes to anything competitive. Back in the Home Economics Club, Juuzou is ready for Oogami to beat Tenma into a pulp because he dared to make fun of the Home Economics Club. Even Oogami is geared up for the challenge, letting his assassin aura leak through, but the other students are far more worried about the situation. Norin also feels incredibly humiliated because she thought that Tenma wanted to challenge Oogami because of her. She just assumed that the guys would be fighting over her, and she feels cringy for feeling so self-important. But Norin is not the only one embarrassed. Shin is also embarrassed on her behalf, and he wishes to take down Tenma. Even Kido is in agreement with Shin, and he feels like revenge must be taken because Tenma made Norin feel bad about herself. Norin realizes that the situation is getting out of control, but she makes it clear to everyone that what Tenma said about the club was disgusting, and that is precisely why Oogami needs to win the duel no matter what. The much-awaited futsal match between Tenma and Oogami has finally arrived, and the entire school has gathered to witness this historic moment. Ogami's team consists of Kido and Shin, and both of them appear to be performing well. However, Tenma is just on a different level. Kido passes the ball to Oogami, but he watches in shock as Tenma overtakes Oogami and takes the ball. He then shoots directly past Shin and towards the goal. However, the force of Tenma's kick is so strong, it causes the entire goalpost to topple over. The ball then bounces back and Oogami takes charge of the situation. He kicks the ball incredibly hard, and even Tenma is unable to counter the force. Tenma loses control of the ball, and it ends up going out of bounds, which makes all the students incredibly disappointed. Oogami was extremely close to scoring a point for the Home Economics Club, but despite the close call, His teammates are left wondering if Oogami really is just a normal, middle school student or something else entirely. The entire gymnasium is left speechless after witnessing Oogami using his incredible strength to score a point. Ryo worries that this match might lead to Oogami becoming more popular and losing his status as the class nerd. But the rest of the home economics members are thrilled at the small victory, and they watch the rest of the match in great anticipation. Unfortunately, this thrill doesn't last very long because there is something wrong with Shin, and now he is acting weird. Oogami grabs onto Shin, realizing that he has reverted back to his shy, nervous self. Somehow during the match, Shin lost his pacifier because of Tenma's forceful kick, and now he is a complete wreck. Without the pacifier, Shin is completely useless. So Chisato asks whether he has a spare pacifier that he can use for now. Kido and Oogami speak to Shin, and he reveals that he has a spare in his bag in the classroom. Upon hearing this, Norin and some of the other girls decide to quickly retrieve the pacifier while the match continues to move forward. For now, Oogami tells Shin that he should just stand in front of the goalpost and use his body as a shield. Since that's all he can manage for now, Kido is starting to get worried because without Shin, their team is down in numbers and Tenma might take advantage of that. Meanwhile, Norin and the other girls run towards the classroom while also dissing Shin and how weird he is. They quickly find the pacifier in Shin's school bag and run back towards the gym. On the way, one of the girls reveals to Norin that she once asked Shin why he uses a creepy pacifier. Surprisingly, Shin revealed that the pacifier reminds him of his mother and her gentle smile as she placed the object in his mouth as a baby. He believes that his obsession with pacifiers probably stems from that. However, this sentimental story doesn't really make Norin feel any better about the other weird things Shin has done and said. The girls return to the gymnasium where they are surprised to see Shin completely bruised and battered. Apparently, Shin took several flying balls right to his face in an effort to protect the goal post. He looks completely hopeless and things are starting to look bad. So Norin is forced to quickly throw the pacifier towards Shin before he collapses. Norin tries her best to throw the pacifier as far as possible. At the same time, Tenma kicks the ball towards Shin, but it gets blocked. Shin uses a singular leg to stop the ball's momentum. He then spins around and reveals the pacifier in his mouth. With Shin's confidence restored, he has now also gained back his excellent footwork. The entire gymnasium erupts with enthusiasm now that Shin has returned to his usual, arrogant self. Even Oogami and Kido are glad to see that their teammate is no longer a burden. With Shin back to normal, the match now moves forward with full steam. Oogami has the ball and Tenma tries to block his path. However, Oogami is able to trick Tenma, and he almost takes the ball to the other side, only to get blocked off at the last second. Tenma is not a fool, and he can notice every slight change in Ogami's speed. Tenma now has the ball, and he quickly rushes past Kido, trying to get the ball closer to the goalpost. But then Oogami manages to catch up to Tenma, and this maneuver surprises the star athlete even more. Oogami pushes the ball out of Tenma's reach, and it ends up out of bounds once more. Norin and the other girls are disappointed once more since the goal was so close. However, Kido believes that the team is finally getting good. Oogami is also having a lot of fun since this is the first time in a long while he has played sports so seriously. At the risk of sounding like an adult, Oogami admits that the tension and challenge of the match is making him feel excited. Tenma's sole teammate, Ryohei, has been taking note of Oogami as well. Sometime before the match, he asked Tenma if he views Oogami as some sort of a worthy rival. Since Tenma is a superior athlete, no one can come close to his level. Maybe he sees Oogami as someone who could be his rival, someone that Tenma can feel is worth beating. However, Tenma makes it clear that he just likes destroying people, and his blunt response completely takes his friend by surprise. Tenma reveals that he is playing 3 sports because he likes all of them too much and can't just pick one. For Tenma, being at the top is not enough. He doesn't want to be a normal type of unique. Instead, he wants to become a legend in 3 separate sports. Tenma hates it when the top players are compared to the rest of the players. This is why he wants to cement himself as the greatest of all. Beating Oogami is just another way for him to certify his greatness. This response really doesn't sit well with Ryohei, and he just bears it, considering that Tenma is his childhood friend. Tenma also mentions that being at the top is kind of lonely, but he doesn't enjoy just defeating already weak players. He has more fun when someone like Oogami comes around. This way Tenma can let go of his restraints and go all out. Ryohei notices the change in his demeanor and the way he is moving around the court. Usually Tenma views every challenge as a way of improving himself, so he always puts a limit on his abilities. However, now he is going all out. which means that Tenma recognizes Ogami's abilities as well. Tenma has turned into a beast as he charges forward with the ball. Kido is the first to meet this fearsome opponent. He tries to get the ball away from Tenma, but fails miserably. Shin is also left completely useless as Tenma casually moves past him. Oogami is ready to make his move as well, but Tenma kicks the ball high above and then takes control of it as it lands behind Oogami. The skilled assassin is rendered speechless as he watches Tenma kick the ball right into the goal post. Tenma manages to score a point, and now he is in the lead. Even though Tenma just scored a goal for the opposing team, even members of the Home Economics Club are impressed by his speed and immense strength. The entire gym is fired up, and everyone understands why Tenma is seen as the school's superstar. The match is now halfway over and Oogami is seriously starting to rethink his strategy. He asks his team members if they would allow him to challenge Tenma alone. Kido and the others are shocked to hear this, because if an entire team couldn't do anything against Tenma, then how will Oogami alone win the match? However, Oogami is adamant on continuing with the match on his own, especially since he is the reason why Tenma started this mess in the first place. Though hesitant to let Oogami face Tenma alone, the Home Economics Club agrees to this bizarre request. The match starts once more, and now Oogami is not willing to back down. He approaches Tenma with pure confidence and immediately starts overtaking the ball. Tenma is shocked that he is unable to shake off Ogami's advances. Even Norin and the others can sense the change within Oogami. The truth is that, as a child, Oogami left challenging other kids and trying his best to win. But as a skilled assassin, he was solely focused on his job, never feeling the thrill of a challenge. The more talented Oogami became as an assassin, the more his life started to appear dull as well. But now he feels alive once more, trying his hardest against a formidable opponent. Oogami is so pleased that he even thanks Tenma for a worthwhile challenge. Since Oogami has been stuck in his childish body for quite a long time, he decides to head over to the forest for a training session with Kotatsu. Oogami stands alone in a dark forest, and then Kotatsu starts firing a gun at him. As expected, Ogami's agility and speed is still quite insane, and he has no problems dodging the average of bullets fired towards him. As the training continues, Kotatsu himself starts to feel frustrated as he chases after Oogami. In the dark forest, Oogami moves like a predator, whereas Kotatsu has a hard time keeping up. Eventually, Oogami runs into a trap and almost gets pierced by a flying arrow. He catches it midair and proceeds to run away from Kotatsu. Oogami then gains the upper hand and uses a tree branch to blind Kotatsu. While the rookie tries to recover from the attack, Oogami has already closed in. Before Kotatsu can fire his gun again, Oogami takes hold of his arm and points his gun towards the rookie. The training comes to a close and Oogami emerges as a seasoned assassin. The guys wrap it up for the day and head back home. Kotatsu is truly impressed that Oogami is still the legendary assassin that everyone fears. His younger body did not slow him down for a second. However, this also means that Oogami needs to be extra careful at school. The entire Home Economics Club is now suspicious of Oogami, and if his cover is blown, then the mission comes to an end. Even though Oogami is already aware of all the things that could go wrong, Kotatsu still drives home the fact that being reckless could result in his paycheck and his identity being tarnished forever. As Oogami listens to these words, he just quietly agrees, knowing very well the consequences of his actions. The following day at school, Chisato has an odd request for Norin and Oogami. She wants the two of them to go on a double date with her. This comes as a shock, but what's even more surprising is that Chisato has decided to go on a date with Tenma. She explains that this entire time, Tenma has been very persistent with his feelings. He has been confessing his love to Chisato almost every single hour. Chisato hopes that by going on a single date with the guy, he can finally back off a little bit and things can go back to normal. But the other girls in the club think this is the start of a blooming relationship, and that Chisato is definitely likely to run into Tenma later in life, even if she does go on a single date right now. The next day, Norin waits for everyone else to arrive so that they can begin their awkward double date. She doesn't really care about how weird the situation is, but she does want to get to the bottom of Ogami's secret. Finally, Chisato arrives as well, but she is taken aback by Norin's casual outfit. She looks like a celebrity trying to hide their identity in public. According to Norin, this outfit is a good way for her to protect herself from random guys trying to ask her out. Then Tenma arrives as well, and Chisato is annoyed that he is not dressed appropriately for a date either. Even Norin agrees, and the girls can't believe that Tenma is part of the unicorn group. Those guys are supposed to be big shots, but Tenma just feels like a clueless guy. And then finally, Oogami arrives and his outfit is just as old-fashioned as his way of talking. The double date officially begins and Chisato has no idea what to make of this awkward group. Tenma then senses Chisato's hesitation and he stops in his tracks just to smile at her in silence. Surprised by the attention, Chisato asks Tenma what he has planned for the day. According to Tenma, he just figured the group could browse some shops in the area and then catch a movie later on. Chisato is surprised by the normal date, considering how much of a freak Tenma usually is. The group first walks around the area, and they stop by a nice-looking park. Oogami accidentally reveals that he remembers how the park used to be a normal place back in the day. Hearing this makes Norin freak out because she is starting to doubt if Oogami is actually a middle schooler. Norin then notices a ramen spot and instantly wants to try it out. When Chisato asks her if she likes ramen, Norin pretends to act aloof. She doesn't want to reveal her obsession with ramen to anyone just yet. Unfortunately, the group can't have ramen today because Tenma is on a strict diet, so Oogami spots a normal-looking cafe, and they decide to try out the place. The rest of the day is spent eating and then shopping. The girls try to pick out outfits for Tenma and Oogami, which the boys silently suffer through. Towards the end of the day, the weird double-date group finally sit down for a movie. Tenma has been having a blast the entire time, while Norin has been secretly observing Oogami and his weird tendencies towards old-fashioned things. Now that she is sitting so close to Oogami, Norin is starting to become certain of the fact that her fake middle school boyfriend might actually be a grown-up. The movie begins and out of nowhere Oogami feels a sharp pain in his chest. Everything goes dark, and when he opens his eyes again, Oogami is no longer a middle scholar. Somehow, his body has reverted back to its former old man glory, and now he's just some older guy sitting right next to some younger kid. So Oogami covers his face with his shirt and rushes to the bathroom. Oogami splashes some water on his face and tries to come to grips with his reality. Now that he can see his old face in the mirror, Oogami can't believe he has been trying to pretend to be a middle schooler. This entire time, he just feels like a chaperone to a bunch of middle schoolers. Oogami decides to just ditch the entire mission and go back to his old life. He feels bad for leaving Norin alone, but then another problem pops up. Outside of the bathroom, Oogami and Tenma can hear Chisato struggling against someone. Apparently some guys have kidnapped Norin and now she's missing. Oogami would have loved to just leave right then and there, but he can't let Norin be taken by some bad people. As Oogami runs out of the bathroom, Oogami notices the two guys carrying Norin towards a black car and immediately springs into action. Tenma then decides to go after Oogami and he tells Chisato to call the police. Surprisingly, Oogami has reverted back to his middle school self, and just in time as well because Tenma manages to catch up to Oogami. Together, they enter an empty stadium where two guys are waiting around with Norin's unconscious body lying nearby. This entire situation has taken a turn for the worse because Oogami recognizes the emblem that the two things are wearing on their clothes. They belong to a crime organization known as Jarden, which is much bigger and better than the organization Oogami works for. The first assassin is known as Kazuma Rindu, who is just 15 years old, and the second assassin is called Ig Rindu, who is 13 years old. Oogami is shocked to learn that both of these high-level assassins are just kids. He then receives a call from Kazuma himself and learns some disturbing details about his plan. Kazuma is of course doing all of this for the Mitsuoka pharmacy secret, but he does not intend on challenging Oogami to a duel. For now, Kazuma intends on hypnotizing Norin so that she falls in love with his brother Ig. Oogami and Tenma don't like the sound of that, especially since Ig seems to be missing a few chromosomes. But Kazuma believes that after hypnotizing Norin, she will devote herself to Ig completely. Tenma and Oogami are done talking with the assassins, and then Ig places golf balls on the field and starts firing them towards the two boys. The golf balls are actually bombs, and Tenma and Oogami run for their lives as they avoid getting killed. Oogami is starting to feel frustrated because he didn't really prepare for this situation. Kotatsu then tells him that he is sending a bunch of guns towards the stadium using a drone. Impressed by how fast Kotatsu is working, Oogami can see the drone in the distance, but it ends up getting shot down by Kazuma. A single gun manages to land within the stadium, but it's too far. With Kazuma still pointing a gun at him, Oogami discreetly picks up a steel bar and throws it in the distance. This causes Ig to fire a golf ball in the area, but it was just a trick. The explosion causes the gun to fly towards Oogami, and now he is fully prepared to take down the young assassins. Oogami tells Kazuma that he sees Norin as a daughter, and if someone told him that his daughter had fallen in love because of hypnosis, he would never let the man go alive. the seasoned assassin pulls off a surprising maneuver. Kazuma greatly underestimated Oogami, and now both of them are fully armed with nowhere to run. He fires at Kazuma straight off, but the deranged boy dodges all of the bullets and hides behind a pillar. If the fight continues like this, Kazuma is sure that he will end up losing. Oogami then finds an extra gun magazine on the ground, and he silently thanks Kotatsu for being such a massive support the entire day. Before Oogami can move further, a security guard appears from behind and yells at him for not evacuating the stadium. Oogami was not expecting civilians to still be present in the stadium, let alone a security guard, so he quickly hides his gun and acts like a helpless little boy. Unfortunately, Kazuma decides that this is the perfect time to reveal himself and stir up more trouble. Oogami starts to panic, and he tells Kazuma not to do anything reckless with a civilian present. However, Kazuma intends on forcing Oogami to either save himself or the bodyguard. Kotatsu can see everything play out as well, and he immediately understands that if Oogami tries to dodge the bullets, they would hit an innocent man. At this point, Kazuma is deranged enough to actually pull the trigger, so Oogami pulls out his gun as well. Instead of waiting around, both Kazuma and Oogami fire at the same time. However, Ogami's bullets end up taking down Kazuma's bullets in midair. This is the first time Kazuma has seen something so insane. Such skills are unthinkable for a mere middle school trick. An inhuman trick like this could only belong to a legendary assassin. Kazuma then reveals the sorrows of his own life and how his younger brother Ig was not always such a silent idiot in their earlier days. As children, Kazuma and his brother Ig were normal kids. Kazuma really liked magic tricks and Ig was into sports. They lived a somewhat normal life, but then everything changed. Kazuma does not reveal further information because he doesn't want to get sentimental. He tells Oogami that Ig is the most precious person in the world for him, and Norin will only serve to make Ig more happy in life. Additionally, the secret of the Mitsuoka company could even help turn Ig into a normal person, so Kazuma won't back down so easily. Oogami watches on as Kazuma pulls out an interesting looking lighter and starts playing around with the fire. Kazuma reminds Oogami that his specialty is hypnosis, and the lighter is actually a secret weapon. As soon as Kazuma closes the lighter, a distinct sound rings out in the air, and immediately something shifts. The security guard who was previously helping Oogami starts to attack him instead. Kazuma actually hypnotized the guard a long time ago, and now Oogami is forced to fight against an innocent man. The guard tries to hit Oogami with a stick, but the assassin just knocks him out. Kazuma has actually been preparing for a long time, and he pulls out his phone and calls a bunch of people so that they can hear the sound of the lighter closing as well. Oogami realizes what has just occurred, and he quickly looks at the crowd gathered near the stadium. All of these people have been hypnotized by Kazuma, and now they are rushing towards Oogami like zombies. Oogami quickly calls Tenma and tells him to leave the stadium and to avoid any group of civilians on his way. However, from his casual tone, Oogami can tell that Tenma doesn't intend on leaving anytime soon. As someone who wishes to become a super elite, triple threat athlete, there is no way Tenma is going to back down from a risky situation. He needs to face at least a few life-threatening situations in order to surpass his own limits. Tenma tells Oogami not to worry and then quickly hangs up the phone. For the longest time, Tenma made use of logic and calculated training to achieve immense strength and power. He knew exactly what to do and how to achieve his goals. However, in order to achieve something impossible, the star athlete requires something more, and this night might just provide him with that chance. The chance to become a triple threat superhuman. With Tenma set on achieving the impossible, he gathers a bunch of footballs and violently kicks one towards Ig. The force of the ball takes Ig off guard, but he still manages to dodge it. Tenma then lines up his footballs, while Ig does the same with his golf balls. The two boys prepare to fight each other no matter the cost. The footballs and the golf balls brutally collide in the air. However, the golf balls are also bombs, and they cause quite a commotion. The explosion rattles the entire stadium, and even Tenma is taken aback. He can't believe this deranged person would actually fire bombs towards him. In the midst of the smoke and chaos, Tenma hears the sound of another golf ball being fired, and he turns around just in time to notice the deadly trap. Ig just used a backspin technique to make the golf ball appear behind Tenma and explode right in his face. Even though Tenma dodges just in time, the gravity of the situation is getting to him. Tenma can't understand how Ig is using the clubs to curve the balls and make them land wherever he wants, so he decides to kick his own footballs directly towards the assassin. Ig ends up getting surprised by this attack, and he smiles in a sinister way. as if excited by what Tenma just did. Meanwhile, Oogami tries to get away from the hypnotized crowd of civilians. He makes sure not to harm anyone, but getting away is starting to feel harder. Oogami just wants to find Tenma and leave for now, but he gets cornered by the hypnotized civilians. So Oogami has no choice but to jump from the balcony and land outside of the stadium. Unfortunately, instead of finding a moment's peace, Oogami runs into a bunch of firefighters and policemen. They were definitely called on the scene after people heard all the gunshots and explosives. However, Oogami notices that even these rescue workers have been hypnotized. As soon as the firefighters set their eyes on Oogami, they go into a blind rage and try to take him down. Oogami uses his gun to fire at the water hose, causing them to go haywire. He then knocks out the firefighters and uses the hose to stop the other group of hypnotized civilians. But then he notices a presence behind him and pulls out a gun. Chisato freaks out when Oogami points a gun towards him. He tries to control the situation by telling her that it's just an airsoft gun. Chisato then looks at the mess in a frenzy and then does the unimaginable. She pulls out a lighter and hypnotizes Oogami. This figure isn't Oogami at all. It is in fact Kazuma in an extremely believable disguise. Kazuma decides to play another dirty trick. He uses one of the civilians nearby and threatens to kill the man if Oogami doesn't come out of hiding. With his hand forced like this, Oogami has no choice but to confront Kazuma once more. Kazuma then forces Oogami to give up his gun, and then he finally feels satisfied now that he feels like he has gained the upper hand. Kazuma is ready to just kill Oogami. Just then, a bullet comes flying from the air and lands nearby. Kazuma freaks out and then remembers when Oogami fired in the air just a few minutes ago. Oogami reveals that this is a trick he learned during his training days. He wanted the bullets to hit the stretchers nearby because he planted small bombs on them before confronting Kazuma. Hearing all of this just makes Kotatsu feel even more confused because it's not humanly possible. Now Oogami just has to wait for his second bullet to hit the stretcher once more. In the meantime, he lifts up his arm in the form of a fist, as if waiting for Kazuma to run into the attack. The bullet finally arrives and the bomb detonates, causing Kazuma to slam right into Ogami's closed fist. Finally, the madness comes to an end and Oogami can wrap up this insane night. When Kazuma slowly recovers from the punch, he can't believe that Oogami pulled off something so impossible. Finally, Kazuma can see that Oogami is in a league of his own, but it doesn't matter. Kazuma reveals that Norin has already been hypnotized, and she will fall in love with the person she sees first. As soon as Oogami hears this, he springs into action, hoping to reach Norin before she opens her eyes and dooms herself forever. While Oogami and Tenma have been battling Kazuma and Ig, Norin has been completely knocked out, and despite all the noise, she doesn't wake up at all. In fact, Norin is having a weird dream where she imagines the ramen shop in a war-torn city, and her uncle has decided to change up the menu. Norin tells her uncle that the broth he has added to the ramen is not fit for a soldier. However, her words fall on deaf ears because Norin's uncle believes that this is the best way to serve ramen. In the middle of their argument, a bomb falls nearby, almost bringing the ramen shop down. In reality, Norin is just tossing and turning while Ig's bombs go off in the background. Meanwhile, Oogami is trying to run as fast as he can so that he can reach Norin before she wakes up and falls in love with the first person she sets her eyes on. While it's a given that Oogami doesn't want Norin to see Ig when she wakes up, he also doesn't want Norin to wake up and fall in love with Tenma instead. If that happened, things would become unnecessarily complicated in the home economics club, and the relationship chart would become way too confusing. At the same time, Tenma is extremely tired at this point, and he can tell that Ig is reaching his limits as well. Instead of continuing the fight, Tenma offers a moment of rest and throws a bottle of water towards Ig. The two fierce opponents actually calm down for a while and drink water. Tenma takes the opportunity to size up Ig once more, because his accuracy with the golf balls is insane for someone so young. The battle between the two is about to begin once more, only for Oogami to interrupt. Oogami looks around and is glad to find Norin still knocked out. He tells Tenma that he took care of Kazuma on his end, and then Ig sees the gun in Ogami's hands. Ig is furious because he thinks that Oogami just killed his brother. He starts to crash out and slams his golf balls into the air, aiming each and every single one towards Oogami and Tenma. The two boys run for their lives with bombs flying around left. Tenma volunteers to take care of Ig. He simply needs Oogami to distract the madman, so Oogami creates a diversion, forcing Ig to aim solely towards his direction. Meanwhile, Tenma is on the other side getting ready to deliver a killer shot with his football. He makes the ball spin with insane speed, and then he shoots towards Ig with a high-powered kick. The football actually turns into a bullet and flies towards its target, IG tries to use his explosive golf balls to stop the trajectory of the ball, but his attempt ends up failing. The ball's trajectory never falters. IG then tries to stop the ball with his bare hands, but that turns out to be a mistake. The football spins through his hands and hits him in the stomach, and then falls to the ground unconscious. Kotatsu is amazed that a mere middle school student managed to take down an assassin from the Jarden organization, and while Oogami also can't believe that they somehow took care of the situation. The mess in the stadium makes him feel worried about the future. This chaos is going to be hard to clean up. Things are looking grim, and it's only downhill for Oogami because Norin wakes up. And the first person she sees is the old guy pretending to be a middle school student. This is the worst possible outcome for Oogami, and he completely freezes up. But for Norin, Oogami is a complete heartthrob, and she can't help but fall in love with him. And then Norin decides to profess her love openly, and she starts to say the words only for Oogami to karate chop her and knock her out again. Kazuma interrupts the moment after arriving out of nowhere completely battered and bruised. When Tenma sees Kazuma wearing Chisato's dress, he loses his mind and tries to choke Kazuma, but Oogami tells him to calm down. Kazuma isn't here to pick another fight. In fact, he gets down on his knees and begs Oogami and Tenma to spare IG's life. Kazuma explains that in their world, failure means death, and while Kazuma is ready to accept his fate, he wants his brother's life to be spared. Of course, Tenma and Oogami had no intention of being so merciless, so he tells the assassin he can take his brother once they are done wrapping things up. Plus, Tenma is starting to suspect that Oogami might be the same type of person as Kazuma, and he's getting closer to the truth. Oogami freaks out, so he asks Kazuma if he can hypnotize Tenma into forgetting about the entire day. Kazuma gets to work and starts using his lighter to wipe out Tenma's memories of this day. He pulls the athlete in for a hug and tells him to forget everything on the count of 3. But Kazuma's hypnosis does not work on Tenma at all. He tries several times, but Tenma is just confused and a little weirded out at this point. Oogami decides to come clean and reveal some of the truth to Tenma. Finally, Oogami and Tenma come out of the stadium with Norin safe and sound. When Chisato sees her friends return, she bursts into tears and actually hugs Tenma as well. Things have settled down, and the following day Oogami returns to school after a hellish weekend. From now on, Oogami will have to be extra careful during school hours, but the main issue is avoiding Norin until Kazuma joins the school as well. For now, Oogami tries to keep a good distance between himself and Norin, because the hypnosis has made her incredibly obsessive and weird. Just another problem that Oogami will have to deal with until things truly go back to normal. The stadium incident has finally come to an end, and a suspicious man called Mori Okuda has been making headlines because he decided to contribute to the construction of the stadium. Meanwhile, Chisato and Tenma go back to school as if nothing ever happened, but Chisato still has some pressing questions. Oogami is trying to get serious about his studies because he feels like the wild weekend took away his precious time to hit the books. Oogami then observes Norin sneaking behind the lockers, and he decides to avoid her completely. Even though Kotatsu can't see Norin, Oogami has noticed a few strands of her hair peeking out. Norin is still hypnotized, and she has deeply fallen in love with Oogami. Then later in the day, Norin finds Oogami resting his head on his desk, but it ends up being a teddy bear with a wig on. Seeing her hopes getting up for no reason makes Norin feel even more upset. School used to be a fun time for Oogami where he could focus on his studies, but now every moment has turned into a game of avoiding Norin no matter what. He receives a mysterious call from an unknown number. However, Oogami knows that this is definitely Kazuma calling, and he feels relieved because of his good timing. Oogami ditches Norin for a while and asks Kazuma to snap Norin out of her hypnosis. Kazuma actually failed to mention that this particular hypnosis is very intense and makes the person fall into a deep love. Oogami can't believe what he's hearing, and he demands Kazuma to fix Norin immediately. Even though Kazuma will not be joining school anytime soon, he decides to meet Oogami and Norin at an amusement park at exactly 5 in the afternoon, so that he can undo the hypnosis. So Oogami now has no choice but to actually go on a date with Norin, even though they will actually be meeting Kazuma. Norin has no idea what's going on. They start the awkward date by first visiting a cup ramen museum. Oogami is actually surprised that Norin likes cup ramen considering how seriously she takes ramen in her life. He makes the mistake of calling cup ramen cheap and ends up hearing a long lecture from Norin about the importance of cup ramen and the long history behind the simple food. Oogami regrets ever opening his mouth and spends the rest of the time just quietly learning about cup ramen. He keeps checking the time, making sure that they can still meet Kazuma. But then Norin decides to ride on a Ferris wheel and Oogami just has to answer to her demands. Within the enclosed space, Norin gets up to admire the view, but the cart starts shaking. She starts freaking out as the door is left wide open at such a great height. Oogami's plan works quite well, and he finally gets to leave the Ferris wheel with Norin. Thankfully, Kazuma is also already waiting, and he leads Norin away so that he can use his lighter to bring the girl out of her scary hypnosis. Norin falls asleep as soon as she hears the click of the lighter. Kazuma can't believe that Oogami went on a Ferris wheel date with Norin, but the assassin reveals he had no choice. After all, this entire mess started because of Kazuma. Oogami then watches as Kazuma leaves the park with his brother. Norin is finally back to normal, and the sun goes down on a very stressful day. Oogami has been waiting for IG and Kazuma to transfer to his middle school, and now that day has finally arrived. Ogami's entire morning is ruined when the teacher introduces IG as the new transfer student. While Oogami is freaking out, everyone else in the class has an interesting reaction. Most of the students don't understand why their class in particular is always receiving new transfer students. On top of that, IG is also just really weird. However, as soon as Takada sees IG, she starts developing a crush because apparently the strange boy is just her type. IG joins the class, while Kazuma gets introduced in the same class as Chisato. Things are starting to get more heated at school with assassins from 3 different organizations disguising themselves as students for one single goal. So Oogami decides to hold a hitman summit where he can discuss things with Shin, IG, and Kazuma. All the assassins gather at the school's rooftop after class, and then Oogami begs them not to stir up any trouble at school and blow all of their covers. He wants everyone to get along. Oogami is desperate to keep things civil, and he is even willing to beg for it. But Kazuma doesn't understand why Oogami even cares, considering that the Mitsuoka deal is on hold for now and none of the assassins will be going after Norin. Even though Kazuma and IG are not looking for a fight, Shin gets riled up and declares that he has no reason to be on friendly terms with Kazuma. Some time ago, Kazuma killed an important target that belonged to Shin. The pacifier-sucking assassin is still holding that grudge because he believes that the target should have been killed by him. Instead of apologizing, Kazuma only further mocks Shina and tells him that he should have killed the target faster, if the matter was that important for him. Shin falls for the obvious bait and lunges forward to kick Kazuma. However, his attack is casually blocked by IG. This is exactly the type of thing Oogami wanted to avoid in the first place, and he tells the boys to back off. But Shin is not done. In fact, he has an issue with Oogami as well. Shin tells Oogami that he initially backed off from pursuing Norin after he lost the duel. However, when Norin recently got abducted from right under Ogami's nose, Shin felt blinding rage. He couldn't believe that Oogami failed to protect the girl that he claims to love. So now Shin has decided to protect Norin himself and start going after her once more. Just then, Norin herself appears, and she finds it strange that Oogami and the others are all hanging out for no reason. With school over for the day, Norin goes to her locker to grab her walking shoes, but finds the locker empty. Shin then appears out of nowhere carrying Norin's shoes. He boldly claims that he was keeping the shoes warm for her. From now on, Shin intends on being insufferably overprotective towards Norin, even though she is clearly always uncomfortable. Later on, as Oogami and Norin walk back home, Shin continues to closely follow them. Norin gets frustrated and tells Shin to stop being such a creep, but his response only makes things worse. Shin declares that he wants to be with Norin all the time. He wants to watch over her, even when she's eating, taking a shower, or falling asleep. Every word out of Shin's mouth just makes Norin completely crash out. She quickly runs behind Oogami and tells him to take care of Shin because he is being really weird. But Oogami himself feels bad because he believes that he really did fail to keep Norin safe on that fateful day. Back at home, Oogami writes up a report about the first Hitman Summit and everything that transpired, but he has a hard time believing that the higher-ups will approve such an absurd report. The following day, a really short girl accidentally bumps into a taller guy, but she feels really embarrassed because the guy pretends not to see her because of her short height. Then during lunch, the same girl is teased by her friends for being so small and cute, even though she is the same age as everyone else. This girl is Mei Tamada, and she is known for incredibly short height. Mei is also part of the Home Economics Club, and she usually just exists in the background. But today, she has decided to take a step for herself and go meet with Oogami for a personal matter. As Mei May walks towards the class. She overhears the other students calling her so cute and short, but these are not compliments for her. Oogami and Norin both notice May entering their class with a nervous look on her face. She immediately breaks down crying when Oogami asks her if something's wrong. May explains that she is tired of people looking down on her because of her height, but Oogami still doesn't understand why she would come to him for help. May explains that she isn't exactly asking Oogami to help her out. She just wants Oogami to introduce her to Tenma, the school's star athlete. May considers Tenma to be the pinnacle of human strength, and he has the perfect physical body, so someone like him should be able to guide her better. So Oogami then takes May to meet with Tenma, and he actually recognizes her as a member of the Home Economics Club. Tenma hears May's concerns and immediately tells her to give up on her dream. He makes it clear that someone like May just can't be taken seriously, even if she gains some muscles. Tenma offers to share an exercise plan, even though he thinks that it will be useless. Before the conversation can even end, May just runs out of the classroom with tears running down her face. After school, May is shocked beyond belief when Oogami brings her to Mama Nagisa in the Red District. Seeing Mama's massive size makes May quiver in her shoes, but Mama is more than happy to welcome the two kids into her bar. Mama listens to May's troubles and then tells her not to worry about her height, since Mama is actually a man. She feels a little out of place with her huge size. Even though Mama understands that May feels jealous seeing such a large cross-dressing man, she tells the girl not to worry because Mama actually feels jealous of May as well. May is taken aback by these words because she never thought someone would be jealous of her. However, Mama would have loved to be born a cute little girl, and she feels like what May has is also a blessing. Once the May issue is settled, Chisato declares that the Home Economics Club will be having a ramen competition. By the end of the night, Oogami looks like a stuffed cow because of all the ramen he has eaten. Somehow Norin is perfectly fine and still growing strong. She decides to ditch Oogami because one more bite is going to cause him to burst. Oogami then sits on a bench to regain his stamina. An unknown girl is also waiting for the traffic light to turn green. However, as soon as the girl crosses the road, a truck comes barreling towards her. Before things could turn tragic, Oogami saves the girl from a painful demise. He then proceeds to get sick from nausea and runs off before he pukes all over the place. The next day at school, the ramen competition is officially commenced by Chisato. However, in the end, both Shin and Norin receive 0 points and Chisato is declared the winner. As the students clean up after the competition, the girl acting as the judge asks Chisato for something, but then Oogami recognizes the girl from last night. The girl freaks out and tells Oogami that it would be better if the other person talked to him first. Completely confused and slightly concerned, the entire Home Economics Club gathers around as the girl falls asleep on the table. She is completely knocked out and snoozing in the middle of the class. But then all of a sudden, the girl's skin becomes darker. She gets taller, and when she wakes up, an entirely different personality greets Oogami and the others.